Over the next few years, we're going to see more people than ever create incredible amounts of wealth just by making one change in their investment portfolio. I want to make sure I get this out because there's something that came through from Charles Schwab that really just put a spotlight on what I'm about to say. They do a study every year, for at least the last few years, that's called ETFs and Beyond. So when you look at this study, it looks at people that are invested in ETFs and not invested, and their plans on what they plan to invest in the coming year, what kind of risk tolerance and what assets that they're interested in. It's a great report, but there's one thing that made the whole report. On this slide here, you'll see the number one asset class ETF investors plan to invest in ETFs in the next year, 2025. U.S. equities, number one, 55%. Makes sense. Number two, cryptocurrency at 45%, above and beyond bonds and fixed income. I don't know about you, but right now I just get tingles looking at that. And here's why. We've never had cryptocurrencies before, at least in the sense of making this generational type of wealth occur. And people have been very skeptical of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, all of the other coins available. But for those that have been in the industry, let me go back. In 2018, I bought my first Bitcoin. I believe it was about $4,000 back then. I kept it for about, I think maybe 6 to 8 months, and then sold it for a small profit. And I got introduced to it by a younger guy. He's a millennial. And at the time I was like, sure, I'll dive into it. And then in 2021, I got involved in a gaming company. And I made a sizable investment into this gaming company's cryptocurrency, their token. And when I look back at this, everything changed. So in the fall of 2021, that investment that I made in the spring of 2021 turned into a very sizable amount of money that allowed me to turn that into other investments in the cryptocurrency and the blockchain space. And so I spent I started working for this company. I never thought I'd work for a company ever again, but I wanted to be a part of this blockchain and cryptocurrency industry. And this company was doing cool things. So I actually, started working for them. And I spent the next 2 to 3 years involved in this industry. And during that time period, the industry was just at its lows because the investing in the industry had gone way down. We obviously had COVID, and we had a lot of other things that took place. Regulatory environment for cryptocurrencies was very turbulent. We had the FTX scandal. We had a lot of things that went against this model, this blockchain and this cryptocurrency model. But things are changing. And this report is really shining a light on that. So when you look at Gen X and millennials, when we look at this report, it shows, here we go. Asset classes and ETF investors plan to invest in their ETFs. Millennials, 62% in cryptocurrency, more than any other asset class. Gen X, 44%. Only U.S. equities are higher for Gen X. And then baby boomers is a much smaller percentage. That makes more sense because they're getting closer to retirement. They don't want to take on as much risk. That makes total sense. Why am I so excited? Millennials and Gen X, cryptocurrency is one of their top, if not their top planned holdings for 2025 in their ETFs. So what's about to happen? And this is being recorded in the fourth quarter of 2024. Next few weeks, we're about to see some big changes. We're going to see a presidential election in the United States that potentially could have dramatic impacts on the SEC and how they regulate the cryptocurrency industry. Obviously, the new president can decide a lot of things that potentially might have an impact positively or negatively on the cryptocurrency market. But one of the biggest things that's happening is institutional investors. And I bring this up because in a couple weeks, the board of Microsoft is going to be making a vote. And this vote, let me pull this up. So Terrence Michael made this tweet. He says, guess who Microsoft's second largest shareholder is? Guess who made Bitcoin's ETF happen? BlackRock. So in a few weeks, Microsoft's going to vote on whether or not they're going to hold Bitcoin on their balance sheet as a company. This could be billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. You have to understand Bitcoin has a limited supply. It's 21 million Bitcoin. Some of those, a few million of those have been lost forever. And it just keeps dwindling and dwindling. If you understand supply and demand, and you understand that there's a diminishing amount of these Bitcoin being created, and there will be a finite amount eventually once the mining is completed. Institutions like BlackRock and like a lot of like Microsoft and a lot of these companies, they're looking at ways to invest into assets that are not necessarily correlated with the US dollar, with other investments, so it can help hedge their risk. What's about to happen is we're going to see an incredible amount of institutional investment into Bitcoin and subsequently into other cryptocurrencies. When you look at the study by Charles Schwab, it says cryptocurrencies and ETFs. Currently, we have the Bitcoin spot ETF and we have an Ethereum spot ETF. And technically, they're not called ETFs. I think they're called ETPs because exchange-traded funds are securities versus exchange-traded products, I believe, is ETPs, is what the Bitcoin and Ethereum are because they are not securities. That's a big difference. So anyway, I digress. When we look at this report and we see that people are interested in investing a big portion of their ETF investments into cryptocurrencies, it's going to be things like the Bitcoin ETFs. I think there's 11 or 12 of them currently available. It's going to be the Ethereum ETFs. And then they're going to see other ones. Maybe it's Solana, or maybe it's a bundling of some of these, like AI. There might be some AI bundled ETFs or gaming company ETFs that are coming out. What I'm getting at is we're going to start seeing a shift in investment interest into cryptocurrencies. And if you can get ahead of that, then you're going to set yourself up for potentially, I have to say potentially, because this is not investment advice. Like I said, I'm just trying to make you aware of what's happening, connecting these dots. I've been deep in this industry for the last 3 years. I bought my first Bitcoin back in 2018. I am no way an expert on cryptocurrency, but I've been deep in the community. I've worked for a company that is a crypto startup. They're still going strong, and we're about to see the gaming industry take off. One of the largest launches in the gaming industry off the grid just took place, and they're doing the launch that you can play this game. It's a first-person shooter game that's similar to like Call of Duty, but it's on the blockchain. You own the assets in the game. I don't know how to say this without just reaching into that screen and shaking you. You need to pay attention to Bitcoin, to cryptocurrency, and you need to look at the investments that are available to you. I created this video to describe what Bitcoin is, how to retire with Bitcoin, and you can take a listen to it next. I hope this video was eye-opening, was intriguing enough to at least put your investments start thinking about the future.